Hello, Challenger. Let's explore strategies for negotiating your software engineering salary at big techs and other companies as well. Today, I'm here with Eduardo Barbosa. Thank you so much for being here, Eduardo. How are you?
Oh, good. Sunny Dublin.
Pretty good. Amazing. So I'll quickly introduce Eduardo again, in case you don't know him. So Eduardo Barbosa, he's been a software engineer for more than 15 years. He's been working with Java most part of his career, and he's now working for Meta as a senior software engineer. As I mentioned, we're going to be discussing about how to negotiate your salary, because I know that for many developers, this is a subject that we neglect. Unfortunately, we neglect. And then what happens is that we allow companies to dictate our salaries. And as a consequence, many developers become underpaid. So we're going to start talking about what not to do in a negotiation so that you, software engineer, don't lose money when negotiating your salary. Because when you're negotiating your salary, it's the most important time to get a good salary, because after you are in the company, to get a promotion is much harder. We're going to be talking about mistakes we should prevent when negotiating your salary as a software engineer.
Yes. So I'm just reminding my previous mistakes. And I think the most common one when we join Equifax, and this is probably because we are like moving to a new country, we might need visas, we might need multiple factors back to our salary negotiation. So when I got my offer letter from Equifax, I literally accepted right away, like in the call. I didn't even read the offer letter. I got the news about the offer letter through the call. The recruiter asked me what I was thinking about, and I said, yes, I want it. I want so badly. Let's do it. And this is the worst mistake ever. I know for a lot of people, it's a little bit frustrating. First, because it's a soft skill. It's not something that it's like we do on a daily basis. And also we want so bad sometimes to be hired or to be in that position that we don't think about salary at some point. But I think that what we need to do is always ask for a day to think about it. It's always a good strategy to say, oh, I need to talk to my partner. I need to talk to my family, because it doesn't say that you're not interested on the role, but also it's a big step on your life. It's a big change. So it's always good to first say, thank you for the offer. Thank you for the opportunity. I want to review with my partners, with my family, and I'd like to know in a day or as soon as possible. You don't want to keep the recruiter waiting, but at the same time, they expected to wait 4 hours, 48 hours for you to decide or to post a negotiation, start a negotiation. So never do what I did on the first time and accept right away, because every role, every offer usually has a little bit of bandwidth that they can play around. They always can do a little bit better, or they can change slightly the offer or more benefits. And this is depending on the company a lot, but no one as well will say no to you or revoke the offer just because you're trying to negotiate. So in this instance, for example, I could have actually said a day after, hey, I reviewed the offer. It was an amazing offer. It fits what I was expecting. But I think based on my skills, based on my experience, I was looking for more something close to 65. Or of course, if you go up so much, you're not going to get anything. So if you started the whole conversation saying that you're on the range of 60 to 65, the company offers you 60, then you ask for 70, you're not going to get anywhere. And now you can say, I was looking for something on the range of 65 because of my experience. What they can do is two things. They will never revoke your offer. They could say, yeah, sorry, but 60 is what we can offer right now based on the interview you made. Or they can literally go back and say, hey, let me go back to the recruiter. Let me go back to the managing. Let me go back to HR and let me see what I can do. In the end, you have to understand as well that the recruiter, his job is to hire people. His job is not to deny people. So he is doing most of he can do to get you to the role, especially if you got an offer. Like he done 99% of his job already. So he found the perfect candidate. You went well in the interviews. The recruiters want you. The managers want you. So now it's just making sure that you are happy with the offer and making sure that everybody, it's okay. Bottom line, to be fair, they don't care about the money they're paying the recruiter itself. They want to match a negotiation. They can go back and say, yeah, 60 is the most I can do. This is my limitations. I cannot, because the market, budget constraints, whatever. But they will never revoke your offer. So you already have the 60 as you're starting through your offer letter. Maybe you can get a 62 on the way back. They literally can come back and say, you know what? Talk to my managers, talk to everyone here. We can offer you 62. It's already a bump that you weren't expecting. I think that's the first step. And this is an example that I made a mistake. Good.
Very good. Very good. And I think most of developers are guilty of this one, right? Because, for example, in the context of your situation, so you moved from Brazil to Ireland, and there was the visa barrier. So there is a context there as well, because I always tell developers want to move abroad and get a job abroad to not worry too much about the first salary. So even though I know it's a mistake and we should always negotiate, because like you said, they would never revoke, right? Because if you got the offer, what's the point of revoking? The maximum they could say is, oh, sorry, we can't go to this salary. We're going to pay that. But in this context, it's important to emphasize as well that there was the visa barrier. And in that context, all we want is a sponsorship. But obviously, you could have improved your salary if you negotiated. It's just because of the context that we want so badly to get the sponsorship that we don't even care about the salary at all. And that makes sense. That makes sense. But we should avoid this mistake.
The next one, my next experience was, it wasn't on contracting role. So this is actually very common in Ireland, which is paid by daily. So by day that you worked in the company. And I did an interview with Huawei. So contracting is very interesting for high paid jobs, just because it's easier to hire contracting. So usually the process is very simple, just because they can say, you know what, I'm going to have you for 6 months. If you're not a good fit, I just don't renew the contract.
Yeah.
It's fine. So it's easy for the company to commit to resources while doing contracting. It's very simple to know how many it's going to cost, how much it's going to cost for like a year or for the 6 months or for 24 months. And they can review again in a year from now. So in that situation, I'm trying to remember numbers, but my memory is a little bit funky. So let's assume it was 550 euros a day. Usually contracting is less interpret to change. So it's very rare that you start the interview with a value they won't commit. So if you start interview, say, I want 550, and they start the processing, they're going to get to 550, but they won't be able to negotiate that much after the interview. So usually the negotiations is before the interview. So you say, I want 575. And they say, yeah, we can't do that. Or we won't be doing that. Oh, we can get to 560. Then you say, you know what, 560 is okay. Let's start the process. And usually it's a 1 interview, 2 interview tops.
Yeah.
And say, let's do a contract of 24 months and then we revisit, which is actually really good. A lot of engineers rather do contracting just because how easy it is. And there's a lot of small tax benefits that you can have on the long run. but this is probably a whole big new conversation just about the contracting. But we can do that later. And my last interview slash negotiation was in Meta. So I started the conversation. Usually they ask, this happened in Equifax. I think every company usually asks for your previous salary. I don't encourage you to lie about it, but they will never verify as well. They will never ask you for payslip. They will never ask you, hey, you said you weren't 80K on the previous company. I need you to prove. No, this is more for them, in theory, to understand where you are, your company, and also to get data about other companies. So they literally gather data from, hey, I'm applying for Meta and I'm coming from Huawei. What was his salary? So they literally actually start pinpointing, especially recruiters, to understand if they can match, if they're going to get a better offer than Huawei, for example. And usually they might say, you know what, we're never going to get a better offer than Huawei's is providing for him. So maybe they don't even start the processing because it makes no sense, right? Unless you say, no, I'm okay with a less salary. I just want to move jobs. I'm not happy with where I am right now. And to be fair, be very careful saying bad things about the company that you are right now, because this is not usually well seen. So I always say that you want to move on, you want a new opportunity, you want to change technologies that you're working on, and you go from there. But whenever companies are asking for salary, usually it's to match you correctly on a specific role or seniority. Of course, some companies might use that information to put you in a lower scale or to put in a lower salary range just because they know you're going to be happy with the pay increase.
Exactly.
That's usually not what happens with the big techs. Big techs are very
Yes.
on the pay scale and the seniority. So they don't actually usually care from what was your salary before. They usually look for how good you were in the interview, your seniority, and then they're gonna give you an offer that are within range of that pay scale. I can give you an example. Let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The salary range on tech companies are usually split in three things. So it's usually base salary, bonus. The first two is very common with any company in US, in Ireland. But big techs usually also gives RSUs, which are restricted stock units. So you need to be careful because usually we talk about full compensation. So let's give an example. I have 100K on full compensation
Yeah.
in Huawei, right? And
Yeah.
this might be just a base salary with 5% bonus. So maybe my base salary is 95K and I might get 5K of bonus. Bonus. Okay. So if you start the conversation, say, hey, I want 110K base salary. And this actually happened with me. So I said, I'm looking in the range of 110K. The recruiter came back to me and say, hey, this is not realistic for the role that we hire, but we definitely can get to the 100 mark. And initially, if you think through, this is bad, right? I'm changing 95 or 5K bonus to 100K, but it's not. And the recruiter actually explained to me for one reason. So he could get to 100K mark and what they call 10% mark. So your bonus is expected to be 10% of your base salary plus stocks. So RSUs are very complex, but what he offered, and we're going to get back to the offer later, but what he offered was 120K in 4 years. So in theory, a lower base salary than I was expecting will get me to 110, 150K a year. That's why you need to understand those concepts before even applying, in my opinion, so you can understand what you're actually asking, because you might be losing the opportunity thinking that base salary is too low.
Yeah. So basically, you need to ask what is the bonus, what is the restricted stock units. You need to know exactly what is
Yes.
involved. So this bonus is 10% of the salary at the end of the year.
They usually depend. So even Meta changed. So when I joined Meta, they were paid twice a year. So 5% at the beginning of the year, 5% second half. Now they centralize, so it's once a year as well, beginning of the year. So it's not even the end of the year. It's usually after performance review. I think Equifax was the same. So they usually do a performance review, analyze how you're doing at your job, and then they calculate the bonus. But again, bonus are optional. So the company can decide we're not paying this year, and they can
Mm.
do done anything. This is the same for Huawei. This is the same for Meta. Meta can say we're not paying bonus this year, and they are within their rights. So don't get too comfortable as well. Just so you know, if you're calculating your chances of moving, it's a bonus. It's not monetary.
So what conditions make them deny the bonus?
It's all within the company financial prospect. It's not about you. It's not about the team. It's not about production. It is about how good financially the company is actually doing. Of course, there's multiple factors involved. So they usually don't want to cut bonus from employees just because employees expect that as a salary. And you can have a lot of people leaving the company because they are not getting what they were expecting to receive. But also the bonus can increase. So if the company is financially really doing really well, so what they usually do is this 10% is the mark for your role. And if the company decides, they can literally say, and this actually happened in the past, they can literally say, we're doing 150% of the bonus this year for everybody. So your
Excellent.
10% becomes 15% base. This is good as well. So it depends on what you're doing.
So
Yeah.
it's 15% or 150% of your salary?
No, it's 150% of the bonus that they were paying. So let's do this calculation. So 100K, it would get you 10K of bonus. Right?
Perfect. Yeah.
This is your base calculus. Why we say this? Because depending on the role, you can get 15%, you can get 20%. So usually more senior roles gets a higher bonus percent.
Excellent.
So in your offer letter, you're gonna know exactly what is your percentage. Okay. Let's assume for this one is 10%. So you're gonna get, if everything goes well, you're gonna get 10K bonus. But there's two factors that can change your bonus. First is the company performance. So they can say, you know what? Company will pay 150%. So your bonus and everybody else in the company will grow 50%. So you're going to get 15K this year just because company is doing financially well. Okay. And this is across the board. They will never do that for one team, for one person. This is going to be, if they're doing, it's going to be for everybody. Okay.
Oh, got you.
Company might
Yeah.
say, you know, you're doing really bad. So it's 0% and you don't get bonus at all.
Yeah. Which doesn't really happen with Meta, right? I assume that it's
Never
very
happened.
rare.
Was there? Yeah. Never happened.
Very rare. Never happened.
Mhm. Never happened. What was there? But yeah, it's not really common in tech companies. I think right now, because of the compensation, you're gonna lose so much manpower if you don't pay bonus as expected, that this could be a problem. I remember we got 1 year 90%, especially after COVID. They said, we're not doing financially well, so we're doing only 90%, and the bonus falls off to 90. This was the lowest.
It's funny Meta is saying that they are not doing financially well.
This is anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Thing that also impacts your bonus is your performance review. So your performance review sets another factor. So if you're doing what you expected, you're gonna get 100%. If you're doing more than expected, you can get 125, you can get 150, 175.
Oh, nice.
And it's the same for if you're not doing well. So you can get less bonus as well. And bonus are also linked to if you're in performance improvement plans. If I remember correctly, you don't get bonus if you're in any performance improvement plan. But this might be depending on the company. So some companies are more aggressive on that policy. I know Amazon is very aggressive on performance improvement. So they usually set up percentile of employees that needs to be on PIP. They call PIP, performance improvement plan. So they usually set 5% of the engineers needs to be on performance improvement. So the lowest on the bar usually gets on performance improvement plan.
Oh, and some people from Amazon, they said that they even fire people.
Yes, this is the first step to fire, right? So if you are in performance improvement plan and you don't get your scores back, they can fire you.
Yeah, they're very aggressive. But the good thing about Amazon is that they make it clear when they are hiring.
Never lie
So
about
they
it.
have,
Never lied about it. Yes.
yeah, so that's fair.
So now RSUs. RSUs are more complex. Okay. And again,
Yeah.
I'm mixing compensation with negotiation skills. And we got to go back to negotiation skills after I explain all of them.
Oh, just one information here, because this is actually very connected to negotiation skills, because this is information, right? So if you don't know what you're negotiating, you are in disadvantage. So this is extremely connected to negotiation, actually.
Exactly. Yes.
Information is power when you are negotiating.
Definitely. So RSUs. RSUs are a little bit more complicated for one reason. So all of our salaries are in euros, right? Now RSUs, because they stock up the companies in US, they are set up in dollars. So the 120K for 4 years is 120K dollars, not euros. Now, what they do is simple. They get 120K and they buy shares. Let's make the calculation easier. Let's assume that the stock in Meta was at $200 per unit.
Yeah.
Unit. Okay. So what this means, and I'm going to use this is $200 USD. Yes. So what they do is simple. They get your 120K divided by 200. They're going to buy 600 shares. So they're going to get these 600 shares and they're going to put in 4 building blocks. It's going to be 150 per year, 150 units per year. So $120K dollars in 4 years. If the share is around $200, you'll give 150 units per year. And if 150 units, now its value as 300. After a year, you're going to get 45K worth of stocks because you can sell right away as soon as you get the stocks, or you can keep them. But now the bad scenario is, let's say the stocks went really bad and now it's worth only $100, right? So on the second year, you're only going to get 15K because the stocks went down. This is the way of saying, if we are good financially, you're good financially. If we're bad, we're bad as well. But it's a
Understood.
really good form of compensation.
Yeah,
Question.
because it usually goes up.
It usually goes up, but it can go down or it can stay flat. But the good news is the amount of shares are defined the moment you sign the contract.
Mm,
So this will be set in stone the amount of units you're gonna get. Okay.
yeah. So it's not about how much it is the unit. They will pay the
The unit.
amount of the unit of the stock.
Yeah, they will give you the units. They won't give you money.
Makes sense.
So this is very important, right? Because this is your salary that they can, this is your offer. And this is very different from usually what you're thinking or what you're expecting. So in theory, my salary here is 110 plus 40, 150, 145 because it's dollars to euros. So this is probably my salary yearly. It's going to go 140K euros. But you can easily say no if you're asking for 110K of base salary, right? Because the recruiter won't lie to you. He will say, hey, we cannot go more than 100K base salary. And this might put you outside range just because you don't understand how RSUs work, bonus work, and this can easily remove you from the process. If you stick to it and say, I want 110K base salary, the recruiter might not go forward with your application because it's outside the range.
Yeah, and the bonus and the stocks are great part of the salary.
Yes, yes. This is in US, this is in Ireland, this is in every place Meta, Amazon, and any other of the company works. They will have a very, very large increase in your salary because of the RSUs. Now let me
Amazing.
add more complexity. Can I?
Yes.
So every year after your performance review, let me remove this one. They will give you a refresher, which will work for the next year. And it's also split it in 4 years. So let's say you did really good and they're going to give you 50 units of refresher per year.
So
So
refresher would be bonus stock units.
yes.
Oh, so if you do very well in your performance review, they will give you.
You don't need to do very well. If you do the basic, if you meet all your expectation like 100%. So if you get 100% of your bonus, you're going to get refreshers no matter what.
Amazing.
So your refreshers will follow the same idea. They will get to you and say, hey, we're going to do a refresher of 80K for you. This 80K, let's do some math just to make it right here. So 80K, it will give you divided by 4, 200K per year. So now let's assume that the stock is at 300. So the company did really great, right? So what will happen is 20,000 divided by 300, it will give you 66. So this will give you 66 units. So your first year salary went 150 multiplied by 300. So you did really good. So 150 multiplied by 300. So you got 45K of stocks. 45. So this was your 45K. Okay. So instead of you started your signing contract expecting to get 145, but in the end you got 110 plus 45. So you got the markup 150, right? Then on the second year, you expected to get more now because essentially it's 150 plus 66 multiplied by 300. So you expect to get close to 65K now because of the stock value more and of the refresher that you got it. So your salary on the second year, it will easily go to 165, 160 mark without any adjustment. Because of course they will review this one and say, you know what, you're gonna get 2% increase on the normal flow, right? You didn't get any promotions, but your salary is actually growing. This will happen for 4 years because the next year they can do exactly the same thing again until you actually lose the first one. So eventually you're gonna lose the first one and you're gonna stay with 4. You're usually gonna get 4. So your salary after 4 years without any promotion can easily go to the 120K mark just because you're going year by year. Okay?
Yeah, that makes a big difference in the salary.
Yes, yes, it does. But it varies a lot. So you could easily make less money in the 5th year than the 4th and the 3rd, depending on what the stock's actually going. Because you're going to eventually start losing the first one, getting the second, might be slower, might be lower than the first one. Because usually the first one is very high because they want you. Then the refreshers, it's not as high as the first one.
So here in this explanation, so the refresher is, so basically in the first year, they're going to buy 150 units. In the second year, 66 units. In the third year, 66 units again, and so on.
Yes. So for example, let's do this difference between the 4th year. So 4th year, I'm set to receive 150 plus 66 plus 66 plus 66. So I'm expected to receive 348, okay, units in the year. But on the 5th year, I'll receive less. I'm only going to receive 66 multiplied by 4, 264. Just because the way they pay per 4 years. Okay. But this depends on so many factors. For example, those values on refresher are defined based on your performance and based on the value of the stock. So this could be at 350 and you can actually receive less. Okay. This could be on 200. Maybe the stocks went really down and you get to 120 now. Okay. And maybe you got a promotion here and you got 200 more. This could be well within the range. Okay. So this depends on year by year. You need to understand that this is really great, but this shouldn't be the only factor on when you're accepting a new offer or not, because this can vary a lot.
Yeah.
It's just the way somebody does to keep you in the company. They want you to know that you're going to peak at the 4th year that you're in the company, your salary. So your salary is going to get increases without any promotion until the 5th year on the company. Which gets me to the negotiation now. Let's go back to the offer. Now I got the offer in hand. I understood what it actually means. But we live in a capitalism society and I want more. How can I negotiate my salary to get a little bit more. So one thing that I learned from my experience was on those big tech companies, they might even pay one extra thing. They did offer for me at the time, which is a signing bonus. This might happen. Why this might happen? They might even say, yeah, I'll pay you 80K just for you to sign in with the company. If you start working for me, I'll pay 80K right away for you. Why? Because a lot of other engineers from other companies, they might be on their fourth year and they have a really high stock salary. And they cannot compete on the base salary. So they literally say, I'll give you a signing bonus just to compensate the loss that you're having on the RSUs on Amazon or on Microsoft.
Oh, interesting.
But this is very common. So the signing bonus might not exist or might exist. In my initial offer, it did not exist. But I know it's kind of common if you're coming from another big tech company.
Makes sense because they want developers from other big techs.
Yes. And they need to make it work. So this is how they fight the RSUs in the other companies. They give you a signing bonus.
Excellent strategy.
But my offer didn't include signing bonus. So what can I do? So what did I do was simple. And the recruiters are very open on this situation because, again, they want you in the company. So they offer 140K for 4 years.
140 or 120?
140. It was 140. No, we made 40, 160. So it was 40 per year. Remember? We made the calculation 40 per year.
40 per year. Okay.
So let me go back to this one. So my initial offer is around 110 plus 145K euros, right? 100 base salary, 10% bonus, 164 years. So usually companies are very hard to change this number. So if you want to negotiate and you know what, I'm looking for 105K, they're going to say, oh, this is complex because we have a range. So my recommendation is negotiate on the RSUs. So ask them, oh, I was expecting a higher base salary. I know it's hard for you to actually change that because you have your constraints, but can you make the RSUs better to compensate? They usually will do. So they can get you the 200K mark way easier than they can get to the 105K base salary. And you're essentially getting 10K more per year in RSUs. Makes sense? Negotiating with any major big tech. Trying to negotiate the RSUs because it's way easier for them to work on them.
That's really good information because instead of struggling to get 5K raise in the base salary, you can get maybe 50, 20 in the RSAU.
Let me just explain that those numbers were not my offer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I'll give you what I got from RSUs. My RSUs were 120K. This was my offer. 4 years.
120K or
4 years.
are
I
those 100?
negotiated to get to 165. I was able to negotiate to 165
Amazing.
without any sweat.
Wow.
But I tried to get 5K a year and I couldn't get it.
That's funny.
That's funny. But this is how it is easy for recruiters to work on. Why? Let me explain why. So the base salary, it's something that they need to pay no matter what. This is your base salary.
Oh, okay.
Or what is usually very common on top of your base salary as a like optionals that you're gonna get is you're gonna get a pension. So all the pension is based on the salary. So RSUs has nothing to do. So any change in the base salary will cascade other benefits that they don't want to. Also, they're very strict with the base salary because they don't want to pay you more from what they have in the team as well. So they want to have that very strict in the sense that a person coming in this seniority, let's say IC5, they call ICs, by the way. IC5, they probably have between 100 and 105K, the base salary of every IC in Ireland, IC5 in Ireland. So they will not
Very
break
good.
this. Then pension is 5%. You'll have a lot of extra benefits that will be based on your base salary. Also, your base salary, if the company is to get rid of you, this is what they will use as a base for any compensation from them fire you. So it's very costly for the company to increase base salary.
Makes sense. So there is tax involved.
Yes. So RSUs now, they can buy the RSUs internally anytime they want. So they can play around with cash flow to buy your stocks whenever they need it. So companies probably have pool of RSUs that they need to pay for everybody in the company, and they can buy off from the market again whenever they want to. So they can play around with the strategy of, oh, our stock is actually low, so let me buy a lot of RSUs to compensate my employees in the future. So they have a better cash flow structure paying RSUs than base salary. They cannot run away from base salary at all. It's set in stone what they need to pay to everybody.
Exactly.
So this
Yeah.
is my negotiation. Always focus on RSUs because it's going to be easier for them to make concessions.
Very good. Very good information. And Eduardo, can you tell us what's approximately the salary range from each level for big techs? Or we can talk specifically about Meta.
Okay. Yeah. It's very,
Approximately and considering a roughly all the benefits.
yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to delete the RSUs because RSUs will depend so much on your performance and on the region that you are. So I'll get back to that later. But let's get back to range. So AMAT is very common from IC3, which is an engineer who just joined from college. Then you have IC4.
Shouldn't it be IC1?
No,
Developers
no,
to
because they
go.
use this IC for different parts of the company. So you could be like an analyst. You start at IC2. But in the engineering world is IC3, IC4, IC5, and IC6.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So this is and this differs from different companies as well. So Amazon might have a different name number structure, but they're very similar on price range, on the salary range on them. Okay. The salary range also depends on the country you are. So whatever I know about Ireland might be completely different in Canada, Netherlands, US, it's Brazil. But the company itself has a very strict salary range for each place. And it's based on market. So if Brazil market's very heated, other companies have a higher salary. They might increase their range in Brazil only if they need to. So this is
Hmm.
very okay. So now from my experience here, and IC3 is the most gas I have. And it's probably around 60 to 65. And I'm guessing. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a roughly estimation.
IC4 is probably around 80 to 85. And I might be completely wrong, by the way. But this is my view.
But you
IC5 is probably 110, I guess. And IC6 is probably around 125 to 140. So as the range grows, it has a wider range just because they need that to negotiate better with seniors. So as you go more senior, it's harder to hire you. So the range might increase higher. This is my feeling right now. Okay.
Yeah. And then if we add the bonuses, it would roughly add 60K
Now let's
every
go back.
year.
Now bonus is different. So the bonus for
Bonus and the RSU.
let's start with bonus because the bonus change as well. So it's probably around 15.
Oh, the bonus changes. Oh, interesting.
Yes. So the bonus
Nice.
usually roughly about this. I have no clue about the bonus on IC3, to be fair. Like
It's okay.
actually 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
And these I have more certainty about it. This might be different as well. This also depends on we call the family tech. So what type of app you are, what type of work you do. So you might be in infrastructure, you might be in sales, you might be in support. So they might have slightly changes. Okay. This is roughly what I think it is. Then we go back to RSUs. RSUs, it depends a lot. For example, if you're an IC4 to an IC5 and you got a promotion, your past RSUs will not change. So in theory, your RSUs as an IC5 from a promotion from IC4 is actually on RSUs from IC4, which will eventually get to an IC5 range.
After 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So RSUs can change a lot, but I would say in Ireland, roughly, I would say this is 25 to 30K a year. Now I'm going to say a year. Okay.
Yeah.
This the first year as well. I cannot even guess for second, third, fourth year because it changed so much. It depends on your performance. But if you're just signing, this is probably what you're getting. 40 to 45K. And this is, I'm expecting 50 to 60. Roughly, this is, I think it is.
Amazing. And do you know how much more they would pay in the US? Because we all know that in the US they pay at least the double that they pay in Europe. So
Here's a really good information for you. So the RSUs are globally set.
okay.
They do is, if you're in Brazil, you're probably going to get a 50% reduction. If you are in UK, you're probably going to get a 10% reduction. If you are in Ireland, probably going to get a 15% reduction, 20% reduction. Okay. Ireland. This is for RSUs. So RSUs are actually have a base calculation globally, and depending on the location, they might add up a reduction factor. Now, the base salary, it's completely different. I don't even know where to start. And we probably have like websites that will get to the range closer to my thing. So this range is probably for Ireland and Ireland only, and has
Yes.
no US. So let's give you an example. This is what I heard, and I think was because of TikTok in Singapore, they needed to increase the base salary of everybody by 20%. But it happened only in Singapore because of the market constraints. So whatever they change on the base salaries in Ireland, it only affects Ireland. If they change to US, only affect US. Okay.
Makes sense.
But the stocks are set globally. So there's just a reduction, probably, since I said Singapore. Let's say Singapore, it has a 20% reduction. So their RSUs are much closer to mine than the base salary. Even because the base salary is different. What's the same? So Ireland pays in euro, UK pays in pounds, Brazil pays in real, Singapore pays in Singapore dollars. So the base salary has no link at all. Okay. But the RSUs for all these places are paying dollars. So it's much easier to keep one reference.
Yeah, and in the US, they pay 100%, right?
Depends on the location on US as well.
Depends on
you-
the state.
Yeah. Usually California and New York is 100%. And the rest it's a factor as well.
So, and in the New York, do you know roughly how much they pay as a base salary?
No, I would be just guessing, to be fair. I have no clue.
What would be your guess?
I would be my guess on IC5 for California, New York, and other like really cost living states. It will be close to $200K USD. That would be my guess for an IC5.
I thought it would be more.
Kind of. So let's do a second calculation. So let's say you get 220, 200. And your RSUs as a 3-year engineer is probably close to 200 as well. So you're going to get 400,000 as total compensation. So 200K as base salary plus 15 bonus. It's going to be a 15, 30K. So 230 plus 200 as stocks RSUs. So you are on 430K USD dollars annually.
Yeah, that's
So
more than the double.
yes. This is, I would say, for a 2 to 3 year engineer salary. Like in the
Oh, this
company.
is
Or 2
two.
hours. Yeah, 2 to 3
So
years.
430K per year.
Yes. After you're in the company 2-3 years.
So what's the reason exactly that it goes up so much?
The RSUs, the stocks.
But it shouldn't. Oh, because it's 100%. It's like 20% more.
Yes, yes, yes. So they
Oh,
like assigning probably 250K of RSUs. Okay. Then this could easily be added on the second year, 150 more. Let's say 150 more. So this will be, let's do the calculation roughly. 250 plus 150 plus 150 divided by 3. Oh, divided by 4, sorry. 300 plus 250 divided by 4. So you get 137. Remember, stocks of go up. So this could be easily get you the 200 mark because the stocks went up for 3 years. So then you get your base salary plus your bonus plus your RSUs. So you are in the 400K, 400K mark.
amazing. And what's your strategy to know the salaries from companies?
So the funny thing is, this is within Meta. Engineers inside probably build tools to share that information. So they
Wow,
information, they're trying to get to a close enough understanding of what is the salary of the range or promotions, all of that.
amazing. That's
And
really good.
Glassdoor, There's a few companies that actually do really FYI levels.
Yeah,
And they're based on real data as well. Sorry, not real data. It's a strong word. They're based on self-reported data. And so employees will say the salary roughly, and they get
yeah.
really good.
But the thing that I see about Glassdoor that developers have to be careful is that for some reason, developers lie about their salaries. They put, I think, at least 20 or 30% less than their real salary. So, and you can easily see that happening in Ireland because they put one salary there and then you see the market. It's completely, well, I wouldn't say completely, but it's at least 30% higher than what they say in Glassdoor. So you have to be careful. Like
Yeah.
information there is not precise.
Yes.
So
That's true. But this is, I guess, it's always a rough estimation. And you need to have people close to you to give you more information than actually on
yes,
those. But it's always good to have a comparison.
yeah, that's what I tell developers that they shouldn't rely totally on Glassdoor. Instead, they should talk to their close friends, talk about salaries because salary is not a taboo, shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because if you consider negotiation and salary as a taboo, you are automatically in a disadvantage during the negotiations because you have no idea how much you can ask. And
Not information, right? Yeah.
yes, when you don't have information during negotiation, you are automatically in a huge disadvantage. And for sure, the company you're negotiating with will dictate your salary. And it's very likely that you're going to be an underpaid developer. So you have to be really careful with that. Uh, uh,
They not only take your salary, but they know the competition. They know the salary that the competition is actually offering as well. So they do that a lot. So the main reason companies ask for your salary before you're actually doing the interview is to get data points on salary on other companies.
and also to use this information against
Yeah,
you
no,
in the
definitely.
negotiation.
Definitely. But think for one different lens. So for every 5 interviewers, only one gets the job, right?
Yeah.
But they got the data from the 4, 5 people on salary on the other companies. So they
Yeah, it
have
depends.
more data on people that they don't hire than actually on the people they hire. So they use that information for sure to understand the market, offer, adjust the offers higher and lower as well. So they will adjust depending on what we are seeing in the market. So they can
Yeah.
definitely go because of that.
Yeah, just one important point about that is that we don't need to share this information if we don't want to. So
Or you
it's
can
not
put
required.
relevant, or you can put completely not relevant information. Like you can put in another, like, I don't know. You don't have to put at all, but you can put wrong information as well.
But you don't need to say it.
Yep, yep, you're right.
We can just tell them that's confidential.
Yep. It's up to you to share.
Yeah. Very good, Eduardo. Thank you so much. You explained so much. If you have any questions about the negotiation, please leave your comment because then myself or Eduardo will answer to you as quickly as possible. And that's pretty much it for this negotiation video. There is a lot more to explore. As you see, negotiation is not that simple, but it pays off. Like we briefly talked here, you could have a significant raise in your negotiation salary only if you do the work and if you learn a little bit more about the negotiation. You don't need to be specialist negotiation. We just need to know enough to negotiate our salary whenever moving companies as much as possible. That makes a big difference. Good. Thank you so much for your presence here, Eduardo, and hope to have you here another time so that we can discuss any other subject. And thank you so much, Challenger, and I'll see you in the next video. Just say bye. You can say bye.
Bye bye.